Welcome to our listeners. Thanks for joining us on today's program. I'm David Esposito, CEO of O&L Therapeutics. I'm joined today with Shannon Ryan, who's the Vice President of Growth and Marketing for Veritas Automata. And today's topic is really about AI's implementation in life sciences. And as a leader, a builder of life science companies, whenever I think about AI, I get excited about it, but there's also a sense of anxiety in terms of, boy, where to go, what to do. And so really excited about talking with Shannon, who's an expert in the field, and her firm is leading a number of life sciences through this whole transition and complex world we're living in, and the transition to artificial intelligence, all things life science. So Shannon, thanks a lot for joining us.
Oh my gosh, David, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, why don't we kick this off with a little bit of background on you, kind of how you came to be where you are, and a little bit of your background. Be wonderful for our audience to hear.
Oh my gosh, what a good question. So my career has been centered around transformation. I actually started in specialized healthcare, and then I went into a contract research organization, and then I went into consulting for the life sciences. So like I mentioned, it's always been around digital transformation, digital positioning, whether organizations from a technology or human point, they needed some type of help, and I was there to be that help. So that in the career, it was usually a company was at an inflection point where clarity or alignment or disciplined execution was really mission critical. So over time, I realized that the most transformative force shaping every industry was actually data. So that pulled me into technology leadership of where I am now. So as you mentioned, David, I am the Vice President of Growth and Marketing at Veritas Automata. We are a technology consulting firm. So I like to say from ideation to implementation or even optimization of a technology strategy or technology stack, we can help. And we have a full artificial intelligence practice and a robotics AI R&D lab in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, that intersection of innovation and technology and the future of our life sciences industry is definitely where I specialize in, and now also at Veritas Automata.
Awesome, Shannon. Thanks so much for that background. That's terrific. And having known you for a while, I know you've led a number of growth initiatives, and super excited to hear about this specific aspect of AI and life sciences. So in your role today and interacting with a number of different industry players in life sciences, I mean, what do you see are some of the major trends going on in life sciences? It always seems to be a dizzying amount from my perspective, but love to hear from you on what you see are some of those major trends.
So we just had a webinar on this to help everyone get up to speed in 2026. We're seeing a lot of changes, specifically, of course, of artificial intelligence, but what does that actually mean? So intelligent data unification. How do we move away from silo trial lab data or siloed operational systems and move forward in an analytical layers where data becomes the actionable insight in real time? Also, very new is agent-based systems for high volume workflows. So what does that mean? Essentially, an artificial intelligent agent is a faster opportunity or a faster talent to help companies orchestrate structured and unstructured data tasks. It's very technical. Essentially, it helps speed up the process through either QA checks or set up study processes or even literature review. Think about how much faster we can get to a solution for a patient within the life sciences with this autonomous agent. Then also a hybrid and private AI models. So we're really learning within the life sciences space that organizations cannot just have proprietary scientific data outside of their four walls, that private, compliant, domain-specific models are the path forward. And then, very much so, is predictive analytics. Where are we headed from an analytical perspective? How is AI transforming the entire industry? But within that is the analytical predictive platforms that can be built. So, again, all about this data. How do we keep it secure, compliant? How do we move faster with that data? Can we build something called a digital trend to mimic the data and have a faster analyzation? So I think the trend in 2026 is making sure that we adopt artificial intelligence, but the secure and compliant way, and help the industry move faster. Because at the end of the day, it's all about patients and how we can help the world through life sciences.
Oh, no, terrific on that. And just hearing you talk about those number of areas, again, that's where me as an operator trying to build a company, we're in this journey of probably 6+ years in human trials. And I try to think about ways, all right, how do we really jumpstart some initiatives around AI, perhaps not try to boil the ocean. And I think that's where a team like ours is trying to figure out, boy, should we optimize it on a clinical trial database, or is it outreach work? Where do you, when you think about working with life science companies, where do you see a lot of those teams struggling? And perhaps, how could you say, boy, here's some practical AI readiness items that you think could help people step into it, especially a smaller biotech company like ourselves?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. The readiness gap. One of the biggest challenges is that I'm seeing in the industry is that AI readiness gap. Regardless of a biotech firm or a CRO or pharmaceuticals, we see a lot of teams feel that pressure to do something with AI, but they're unsure of where to start. So, and also the common misconception of that readiness means having a large data set or hiring data sciences or building agents right off the bat. That's kind of the goal. But where do you start? In reality, readiness is the clarity. It starts with clarity. So we at Veritas Automata like to understand what the problem is, or what are or is a company even trying to solve? And do they think that artificial intelligence is actually what they need, or is it something else that just maybe needs to be automated, and then future they need to get into artificial intelligence? Those are the questions we really try to answer before we just say, yep, 100% you need artificial intelligence, because truly there's a lot of governance, again, compliant data. We have to make sure that we're adopting artificial intelligence responsibly. But to be very pointed in your question, for smaller biotech organizations, especially, AI readiness is not about scale, it's about focus. So when leaders align with priorities and prepares for the foundation, then that AI adoption really becomes less of a daunting task and far more effective.
Got it. No, that's really helpful. And I imagine for a company like ours that may be managing a portfolio of products and a portfolio of clinical data or clinical trials, there's a little bit of perhaps plug and play maybe on one aspect of a portfolio and a product and a trial that could somewhat rapidly be adopted to the next. Is that kind of how you see some of this work? And not some of it, I imagine, is unique, but yet there's some customization, but you could really kind of learn as you go through some of these different verticals.
Sure, absolutely. I think if anyone is thinking about bringing in artificial intelligence, find a partner that will ask those right questions and even maybe lead with a workshop. So instead of just going pointed of this department needs this, how from a full commercialization standpoint or a business perspective, how will it help the company as a whole for this digital modernization essentially? Then that workshop can really come at it as a strategy, and then the firm or the partner that is helping introduce will understand which department needs what type of AI, right? Because it's not a one solution for all. And then throughout those workshops, everyone not only understands what AI is, from generative AI to on premises or in the cloud AI or RAG. I'm throwing around all these techie fluff words, but it's really like, okay, what is the right solution for us? So I think starting even a little bit higher than particular departments will be really helpful for people moving into this AI space.
Oh, that's great. You just kind of highlighted why some operators like me, you get very tactical with this stuff without perhaps stepping back and realizing broadly what's our strategy. You mentioned the term. I'd love to dig a little further on this digital modernization. So maybe give a little education to me, hopefully the crowd listening too, on that as a framework for how organization ought to think about it before attempting to deploy AI. Just get a little background on that.
Yeah, sure. So if there's any type of manual workflows or fragmented systems, introducing AI right into it, it might seem like it'll help right off the bat, but again, it's that what is the best solution for these type of systems? So that is a very broad digital transformation, right? Digital modernization, which is my pretty much my entire career, thinking through of if we insert this technology, what will it do for the business? So before organizations, like I mentioned, deploy those models or agents, they need to modernize the data that moves. So is the data clean? Is there anything missing from that data? And when I mean data as a whole, it's not necessarily the ones and twos. It could even be, a laboratory process that something is missing and needs to be highlighted, or it needs to be flagged in an audit trail, or some type of system that flags that. So as a whole, when I say data, it could be many different things, but introducing that digital modernization is also a mindset. So what has worked in the past? What can evolve as we all move forward in this truly like life-changing time at the moment of technology. So also keep in mind that doesn't necessarily mean multi-year massive projects. It can start off with rationalizing systems or reducing manual handoffs or even improving data quality, like I just mentioned. So when that foundation is in place, AI becomes the accelerator rather than the risk.
No, great point. Okay, no, that's super helpful. You touched on a number of areas, and what would be great is maybe you could take a moment and really see how Veritas Automata really works broadly. It sounds like boy, there's an element of strategy and support and workshopping, and then wargaming perhaps priorities. Yeah, I'd love to just have you articulate a bit on how the firm really is helping life sciences on some of these big areas.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that opportunity in this conversation. We operate at the intersection of engineering, AI, compliance, and business strategy. So as a whole, we typically enter conversations, and absolutely we can be hired for a very particular custom software development project, and we absolutely can deliver on that. But as technology consultants, as really trying to do ethical AI or AI for good, we really like to understand the foundational business objectives, which is, of course, through the workshop and discovery. And then how do we help as a whole introduce that digital transformation? So we specialize in intelligent data platforms, so unifying fragmented systems. So think about that as a whole in life sciences. It's a very high level umbrella, but if a LIMS system isn't speaking to another system within a lab, we can help that even through AI. If there's lab workflows or operational data that is siloed, we can bring it into a single analytical and operational layer. That really helps the foundation and modernization of R&D and clinical operations. There's also responsible and production ready AI, so we can build the entire system on-prem. in non-techie world, that's on premises. So everything is surrounded by this very secure wall. In AI, it's called red teaming. We actually have a PhD in-house that specializes in that. So anything that we build can be secure because we know that there is a lot of data, compliant data that is all around. And it's not just American based, right? This is across all the seas that we're able to build that. So that includes AI agents, like I mentioned, predictive analytics, machine learning models. So there's different types of AI that we can absolutely help with. And first and last but not least is we just really try to provide helpful solutions for complex problems. So, like I said, taking on AI into the organization seems like a big task, but we can help work through that strategy, work through where it should go first, and that really helps companies speed up and reduce that manual workload.
No, that's terrific. I think again for whether it's early mid-stage life science companies or the big folks, I think everybody's got some scorecard objective on how are you leveraging AI down there. So I'm a little bit curious on kind of your own funnel in the business. Is it like a harried CEO like me saying, I don't know how to use AI, or board screaming at me, use AI, and I reach out to somebody like you to help, or is it more, a CTO in an organization? Yeah, I was just curious how the mix comes into your business.
Yeah, that's the fun of my job. It is all different types of titles. So if it's a smaller company that is starting to think about I typically work with CEOs. If it's a larger company, they might even have a AI officer, and we work directly with that person because again, there's a lot of strategy in there of what will work, what isn't, and also it's always nice to have a partner at Veritas Automata with an officer. So even like a brainstorming, because there's a lot of ways to do it. So again, through that, discovery and workshop, we can actually really work through a lot of opportunities that some people think of challenges and risks, but it is an opportunity for growth. And then even marketing officers, how if they want to start introducing AI into their company, I work with the marketer growth leaders so they can get the content, and then also from a cultural perspective, right? And getting everyone to understand where the brand is headed. That's a big conversation. So again, that's the fun of my job. I get to work with all different types of titles, and really understand where they're coming from and their own specific lens, and then we can absolutely provide a solution.
Oh, that's awesome. Terrific. As I hear you talking, I feel like there's also a bit of leadership, HR from a change management perspective, right? It's
100%.
the whole doing something new, get everybody on board. And so I imagine that, boy, we may have to have you back on and just talk about the leadership support and endorsement and change management work for these things, because it's nice to talk about the technical sides, but you probably see it every day. I know, it's a change, and people have got to understand that, embrace it, and all those kind of things. So that's terrific. As we're talking about life sciences, I've got to push on a little bit. I mean, we're in one of the most heavily regulated industries
Mhm.
in the world, but I'll speak here to the U.S. and all of that data integrity, security of those
Oh
things.
my gosh.
Can you speak a little bit of like policy, governance, how we ought to think about that in such a sensitive world as life sciences?
Yeah. So that is at the forefront of our brain at all times when we are building anything for a life science company. My team and we all actually have life sciences backgrounds at some capacity. So if they were a clinical operations and now they're a data scientist, we have a really great group of team, but we understand the industry. So we understand the implications. We understand the regulatory environment. And in life sciences, we need to think about AI in life sciences it needs to be treated differently than an AI and consumer technology. There's this distinction between experimental AI, which is exploratory, or operational AI, which actively influences decisions and outcomes. Operational AI must be governed. So every action needs to be traceable. That's the biggest thing. So as technologists, we have to make sure that anything that whatever we build from an AI perspective can be traceable and then immutable record. So I think that's also a differentiator as we enter the AI space of life sciences. If decision makers are thinking about how all the actions can be traceable, they will be, or explainable, right? They will be extremely successful in their AI implementation, because that needs to be decided and discussed at day one.
Yeah, no, I get it. And so it's back to maybe what you talked about before, is just the need to be strategic first on outlining all the steps and then the appropriate roles, responsibilities before just jumping into a tactic to try to say, grab some data and make it more efficient. No, that's terrific. You know, again, back to like vocabulary and trends and what's going on. You threw out a term in the beginning around AI agents, and we hear about that on you know, in my area of, boy, how we can use these to be more. Can you give a little bit maybe education on what it is, and then how you see it coming into the field of life sciences specifically?
So there's a lot of fear in conversations right now that AI agents are going to take over humans, and we need to, as humans, we need to think about adapting the agents and working with them, right? Because it's here, right? Just like the internet. And I'm saying this because I remember when Google rolled out, and that was at the very early of my career of, it's not going away, right? So we need to think about, agents are not just models, they're systems that can reason, act, coordinate, and adapt really within defined boundaries. In biotech specifically, we're seeing agents supporting protocol review or quality management or quality monitoring, data validation, even regulatory intelligence. So again, working with this to produce something faster, because at the end of the day, we're all really in life sciences for patient health and patient care and expanding that. And we need to think about it as a very powerful orchestrator. So multiple agents can be working together across multiple workflows, creating a scalable system. But again, that's working with them, working with the humans rather than replacing them. So we actually are building agents for multiple life science companies right now. And again, right, that change management, that's a huge part of our conversations to help the humans understand how the agents will actually help them instead of replace them.
No, that's terrific. I appreciate that, because I just last week I was hearing a pitch on how efficiencies could happen, and it was just interesting to me of seeing an org chart for an organization and have, to your words, 3 or 4 humans and a couple AI agents below them, kind of directing traffic on some task. And I think in some ways, for a company like ours, where we try to have full-time employees, some consultants to do it, you could see a whole slew of AI agents on a couple functions to help enhance our effort and improve our reach. So terrific. Again, I think it's one of those, got to get comfortable to move it forward. And maybe that's a question too, that just if in all that you're seeing today, and I do think, hey, we've both been around long enough to see a few of these technology changes come. And it does seem like we're at, all of these things have moved relatively quickly. It does seem like AI, though, is moving at a clip much faster than perhaps some of the others in the past. What if you were to just kind of cast out a couple, 2, 3, 4 years? What do you see in firms like us adopting it, and maybe importantly too, how you see your firm helping life science companies like stay ahead of the curve, so to speak, on these trends?
So I think we all need to think about it as it's the next stage of innovation. And I don't, again, right? Like I mentioned that it's not going away. It's just going to be incorporated in our daily lives. I think, we will use it everywhere and anywhere. And that incorporating it into our daily workflows will help with decision making. It'll help with, I think, even our day-to-day tasks and also the very highly regulated scientific work. Because if we implement it correctly, then again, they are helping us move forward within the industry. So it's not necessarily of where will we be, but what could we become? I think I like to frame it and like think about it like that because the possibilities are endless. We just have to make sure that we're using it correctly, and evolve with it. So I'm really excited for the future.
No, that's awesome. It sounds, as I hear you describe that, it's very similar to I had a meeting this morning with my team. As we think about we're currently in an active clinical trial and all the things we have to do, we're very data dependent. So we have a long-term vision of in the company of helping patients see the future, but how we build that plan down the road is data dependent. And to your point, like we can maybe see the general direction, but it is kind of how we adopt these things over time to be efficient and to your point, really create that future. That's awesome. No, really terrific. Shanna, I'd love to, in the moments we have left, shift gears a little bit because as I've been trying to be a student of leadership around and observe a lot. You've done a great job in the marketplace in your career as a leader in a number of different roles and a number of different functions and leading teams and scaling and growing. But you've also just, it's incredible in how busy you are. And you've really carved time to give back, support the next generation. You've been at the forefront of girls in STEM, and you travel a lot to do a lot of that and leverage that. I'd love you to take a moment and just share a little bit of that and do a little bit of bragging. Otherwise, I'll do that for you. But really, your purpose behind that, the sense, because you're having a great impact in the marketplace. I don't know how many people realize that, listen to that, but you really do. Yeah, I'd love to hear just a little bit on how you get into that and kind of what you're actively doing to help that next generation.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you for the compliments. So to me, representation is not symbolic, it's structural. So specifically within tech, in the industry, 23% of women are in tech. By the time they are 35, women in tech, by the time they're 35, 53% of that 23% is no longer within tech. So yeah, it's a huge statistic. Now that's globally. Regionally, like Poland has 60% women, or, another country might be lower. So that is globally. So I try to be that representation for all women in STEM, because technology is evolving and so are roles as well. So if we take the gender away from it and just be a role model from a technology or STEM perspective, we all move forward together. So for example, we're starting to see data managers become data strategists. Clinical operation professionals are now leading these very intelligent data systems, or scientists are able to focus more on discovery. So preparing that workforce, and that shift in our market is a leadership responsibility. So then I take that into specifically women in STEM, because it really truly is such a passion of mine. And I work very closely with the women and girls to help them with their future. Because if from that statistic, right, if a 36-year-old doesn't have a role model of how to advance her career or navigate conversations or even, provide space within a conversation through confidence, who are the role models going to be in the future? So it is, thank you for asking this question, because it resides so much of who I am as a leader and how I want everyone just to progress together. And I truly think that visibility matters, sponsorship matters, and access matters. So when women lead, innovation expands. And so you're probably hearing innovation and digital transformation and modernization in all of my responses, but that also flows over into my passion and mentoring future women of STEM.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And I agree with you. Well, first off, I've seen it in action, the impact you've had in the marketplace and doing that. And it's really awesome. I know it's heartfelt and genuine. And I do think, for all of us as leaders, as we think about, sometimes we get very focused building our teams, but it's important for us to think beyond that. Like what you do is really cast a wide net. I'll call it in communities, not just in the US, around the world, but carrying that message, it's an important component of leadership, not only in your current job, but as you look beyond that. You do a great job of it. People ought to know it, and it's just really wonderful to see, and that'll pay dividends for all of us down the road as we look at advancing innovation and technology. So no, I appreciate you sharing that for sure. We did cover a lot, Shannon. We probably go all over the place on more about this or where you're headed and some of these aspects on building next generation leaders. Any kind of closing thoughts or things you want to say before we close out?
Well, tying it back to the AI, right, and technology, a leader doesn't have to have it all figured out. Either, come to VA, of course, but choose a partner that will grow and scale with you. Choose a partner that will understand the foundational goals and how any type of technology, AI or software, custom software development, or even a cloud native migration, whatever it might be, choose a partner that will help you scale and grow with you. And of course, that can be Veritas Automata, or, it can be anyone and everyone, but at the end of the day, a leader doesn't have to have anything figured out or all of it figured out. They just need a trusted partner.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you saying that. I would say for folks listening, Shannon, you've done a wonderful job leading in your role and in these transformations. Your firm, Veritas Automata, has done tremendous work in leading a lot of companies like myself. So I would say for biotech CEOs or C-suite or folks that are really interested, just be able to reach out to you and your firm, because you really are trailblazing in these new areas, but helping companies that's not their day-to-day job to think about this stuff, to really partner and strategize and lay out a plan that really can help them leverage these technologies. So that's awesome. How, for the groups listening, how best do they reach out to you and your firm if they want to do that?
So LinkedIn is always great. You can find me on LinkedIn, Shannon C. Ryan. So I was easy to be searchable. Or veritasautomata.com. Just a little tip. If you fill out the form, it comes directly to me on my website. So reach out to us. And again, I have a full team of experts. And they love to talk to everyone, which is excellent. So it's not just me that you will be speaking with. I always bring in a technology expert into the conversation, so we can really provide a plan and a full strategy of technology transformation.
Awesome. Shannon, thanks so much. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. You enlightened me, and I know the audience on a lot of topics. Thanks so much.
David, thank you for having me.